Hi, friends. And if you are an AI professional or even mildly interested in AI, these are exciting times to be around. Why am I saying that? Because yesterday night, according to India time, OpenAI released its new series of models, which it is calling as OpenAI O1. And I think they have once again defined what the frontier models in industry would going to be look like in the next 12 months or so. So what is OpenAI O1? So let me quickly go to the OpenAI site and show it to you. So if you go to the OpenAI site right now, you clearly see them calling OpenAI O1. And these are new series of models which are designed to spend more time thinking before they respond. Now, this doesn't do a great job at explaining what these models are. So the OpenAI O1 is the same model which was rumored to as Q star and more recently as Project Strawberry. So these are models which develop to help in tasks which require more thinking and logical skills. These are roles across research, product, and other updates. And also, these are better at logical thinking, these are better at mathematical problem solving. And we see that. And OpenAI has released quite a few information about what to expect from these models. So let's look at what this article from OpenAI, which they are calling as learning to reason with LLMs. And what you see very quickly is that across these mathematical evaluations, O1 is actually continuously improving its accuracy on as the test time compute increases. Now, on the evaluations, what you see here is extremely interesting. So, three benchmarks: performance on mathematical tasks. So, how was it able to solve the mathematical Olympiad problems? Coding task, and then PhD level science questions. Across all the three evaluations, you can see GPT-4o now looks very bad performance compared to what we see on O1 and O1 preview. Just a word of caution, we don't have access to O1 yet. What we are seeing today is O1 preview and O1 mini. O1 mini we will cover later in the video, but O1 preview is the bigger model which OpenAI has released. Now, if you compare how O1 does compared to GPT-4o, clearly GPT-4o was only able to get 13.4 as the accuracy score on these mathematical questions, whereas O1 has got 83%, more than 83% right. That's a big jump. O1 preview, which we now have access to, gets about 57% right. So that's remarkably better than what we saw in GPT-4o, but is probably just 60% of what one would do. And same thing on competition, same thing on PhD level questions. What you see here later on is very interesting that on language tasks and English tasks, GPT-4o continues to perform at a similar level. Whereas when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to chemistry, physics, or coding, O1 is remarkably better. So that's very important to note, and it's very interesting in terms of how things would evolve from here. So this is another benchmark, Code Forces LO, and again same story that GPT-4o is fraction of O1 preview, which is lower than what O1 does, and it's very interesting to see how these would improve going forward. This chart again summarizes what I said earlier, that on the language tasks, 4o continues to perform well and better or comparable to O1 preview. So it's not that GPT-4o is going to be replaced. It is, I think, O1 and 4o would continue to complement each other. On the other end, on your programming tasks, data analysis tasks, mathematical calculations, clearly O1 outperforms GPT-4o. Uh, OpenAI has done a lot of safety studies before launching this model, and this is really gladdening to see that O1 is actually a much safer model on most of these parameters. So let's look at what O1 Mini looks like, and I think that is equally or probably more exciting. So let's go to OpenAI O1 Mini, and this first chart just blows up possibilities, right? So what you see here is that the inference cost for O1 preview is actually about 40 to 50% of what it would cost to run a O1 inference on O1. The performance is also lower. So while O1 actually achieves somewhere in the range of 70%, 74.4% on AIME, O1 preview is actually only about 50%, 44.6 in this particular. What is interesting to see is O1 mini actually replicates a lot of performance. So 70% is what it scores, but at a fraction of the cost. So for a lot of problems, I believe O1 Mini is going to be a lot more practical. It is going to give us a lot of similar performance and elaborate a bit more on it later, but at a fraction of cost. And that's same thing across other parameters as well. So you see O1 Mini is either better or comparable on most of the benchmarks. There are specific ones like the cybersecurity CTFs where O1 Mini is not as good. So we'll need to take the context of where we are applying the models and then choose the right models going forward. But very interesting and exciting to see what O1 Mini can provide at a fraction of the cost. Right? Again, the same chart that on language tasks, GPT-4o continues to perform better. But when it comes to programming, data analysis, and mathematical calculations, actually O1 Preview and O1 Mini are going to be the better models. Now, in terms of the speed, so O1 Mini actually is 3 to 5x faster compared to O1 Preview. So if you are trying to optimize for latency or faster responses, clearly O1 Mini is going to be the better model, right? So, and they're shared. So GPT-4o will almost reply in instant. O1 Mini would take longer, it would think, but it would be faster than what O1 Preview would do. At the back end, obviously, there is chain of thoughts happening. O1 Preview would continue to get better, but O1 Mini is a very sweet spot, I think, in terms of what it offers. Right. So this is what OpenAI has released. Very exciting. What I did next was across, in addition, in addition to this, OpenAI has also released a lot of interesting videos. So this video shows how OpenAI 801 was able to create a HTML snake game all by itself, just through prompting. And there are a few more videos about it solving complex puzzles, about it trying to create products. Looks like OpenAI team worked closely with the team which built Devin from Cognition, took their feedback. So this is clearly impressive. So go through these videos, have a look at it for yourself. But what I did next was I logged on to the ChatGPT interface and tried playing around with these models by myself. And it's actually interesting to see some of the performance. So here is the first example which I tried. So what I thought was, let's see if O1 Preview can help me create a plugin for WordPress. So analytics, so there's a lot of blogs. I want to tailor it to the user who is coming and reading the blog. So what I'm asking it is to create a plugin for my WordPress site, which actually presents my blogs in an interactive manner. And uh, it actually thought for about 19 seconds, has given me actual PHP code. Now, right now, this code is not working. I'll need to obviously work with the team. I'm not that great at PHP myself. But having said that, I think it gets most of the things right. So with some debugging, I think I should be able to make this code work. So very exciting that I can create something like this just out of box and get this out. So this was the first example which I played around. Very impressed with what O1 Preview can do here. Next, I wanted to test it on how do these models perform and compare to GPT-4o and the performance on these models compared to other models, mathematical and probabilistic questions. So here is a very interesting probabilistic question that there is a person standing on 13th floor out of a 15th floor building, and he complains that at 5 p.m. most of the time the elevator almost goes up. So not a very difficult question, but at the same time a question which typically fools around a lot of these models today. And that's what we see when you look at the answer it does using GPT-4o. It says that approximately 50% of the time the elevator should be going up and down, which is not the right answer in this context. So clearly 4O was not able to answer this. Now let's look at what Owen Preview does on the same problem. So now let's look at what Owen Preview does on the same problem. So same question, this time it thought for 86 seconds. That's quite a lot of time, almost 1.5 minutes. And then it broke down the problem. It says what was the problem, what is the explanation, the assumptions, it calls that out. And what it comes back with is that the probability for going up is 3 by 7. Uh, I think the probability of going down, it also says that it is 2 by 14, but for some reason it says that this is 3 by 7. So, not the right answer, I think, but at the same time, better directionally compared to what 4O was doing. Mini again does the same thing, so I tried that. That is also not giving the answer right now. So, what does it mean? Well, so here are some thoughts which I'm now trying to form with these models. So, first of all, I think remarkable models, what they can do in terms of coding, in terms of research capabilities, is just immense. And while these models currently are not connected to internet, you cannot upload files, and there are a few limitations. I think they will go away in coming days. And what we'll have is a very powerful research capable assistant available to all of us, which is truly empowering. What it also means is now instead of using GPT-4o as the default model across all range of tasks, we would start selecting models depending on the context. So I would start using GPT-4o for all the language tasks. If I'm writing an email or if I'm writing a copy of the web page, I'll probably use GPT-4o. But when it comes to mathematical problems, logical skills, or areas which need iterative process, I would start using O1 Mini. And if it doesn't perform, maybe O1 Preview. And that leaves me with a very interesting thought. This is what probably explains the excitement around agents. This is what is the first preview of what the future is going to look like. There would be different models optimized for different capabilities, right? So mathematical reasoning is one of them. Language skills is another one. And we'll have a few more models coming out in future, and you would need frameworks which work with each other to solve different problems. So this is the first preview of what the industry is extremely excited about. I think it is also that inflection point where now machines can help you in active research, and research work should actually accelerate in the next few years. It would take some time before it actually translates, but I think it is clear that the pace of research would increase because of these models available. A word of caution, these models still hallucinate, and now they are actually better, and it would become harder to detect hallucination even more. So while these are great models, keep that in mind that they still hallucinate. They still have the same set of challenges, but they are smarter and they are better. And you should optimize for what model to use for which task and how much is it costing. As I said, largely I would rely mostly on GPT-4o or 4o mini and O1 mini, at least for the time right now. So those are some early thoughts, very interesting models, very excited about what it means for AI professionals, for people who are building applications. And I think they enable so much. They enable new possibilities. They enable what we can do and what we can build. So really exciting times ahead. I will come back with more detailed review about these models. I'll play around with them. I'll continue to play around with them. But in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, if you would want to ask anything about these models, or if you have had some experience yourself which you would want to share, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and I'll be back shortly.